Hi, my name is Jonina Turzi. Along with Sarah Saluzzo, I'm one of the co-founders of Lancaster Farm Sanctuary. Sarah and I went vegan together. My vegan journey really was having Sarah there. It was the first time I looked at slaughterhouse footage, really stayed and sat with it. And we started doing some activism on behalf of animals with the Humane Society. We realized that so much could be done if you work together with others, sort of had the spirit of activism on behalf of animals awaken in us. And we had the idea to start a sanctuary in Lancaster because we saw a glaring need for it. Pennsylvania finally achieved a law that would help protect animals from egregious cruelty. There was a felony charge finally so that people who were harming animals could no longer have them. And we realized that even in that law, this was a few years ago, we were so proud to be a part of that legislation and that bill, but we realized that there were still stipulations that said, well, except for animals farmed for food. And we thought, what more can we do? And when we had been to a farm sanctuary, we thought this would be so powerful, this way to practice veganism, to not just in our own consumer habits, try to protect animals, but also to have our lives be part of a movement to kind of end some cycles of abuse and pain and trauma that we think when they happen to non-humans that they are hurting humans as well. So our vegan journey kind of felt like the activism journey of awakening, of wanting to live in a world where humans and non-humans are happier together. One of my very favorite things about my work with Lancaster Farm Sanctuary is giving tours. I just love introducing humans to the animal residents who live here. When people come for a tour, usually an hour or so of walking around, meeting the residents, getting to know their stories, and just hearing about some of the standards in animal agribusiness, things that you would think are like out of a horror movie, and it's just exactly how it's done. And it spans from your backyard butcher to the worst, most intensive confined factory farming. So the stories are just heartbreaking, but what's so powerful is that when you're meeting someone at this sanctuary or any farm sanctuary, you're meeting someone who got out, and they're a miracle given the numbers and the chances of survival. So to be meeting them, I think it keeps your heart open and keeps you in the present, because what you're hearing is like so overwhelmingly horrible. So it's a way to kind of ground people in those realities. So for example, Moksha the calf, she's a 8-month-old saucy thing now. She was born sterile at a dairy, and she was being sold for dog meat. Some people may not know that if you're a dairy cow, the way that you're going to produce milk for human consumption, or just the way your body's going to produce milk, is because you've just had a baby. So like other mammals, it's a motherhood process to be producing milk. So she was never going to be a mother. She was born sterile. They were selling her for dog meat. A young woman who works at the dairy bought her for $2, brought her home, and eventually contacted us. So Moksha came to live with us around 2 weeks old, and has been growing fast ever since and doing great. And so then Moksha, not only is her life in and of itself miraculous and her right to be, so undeniable, but then also when you get to meet her on a tour, she has 2 best friends, Kevin and Nan. They were babies at the exact same time. They all came the same time. They were born around the same day. So these, 2-week-old, 3-week-old babies were meeting. Kevin and Nan are baby goats, and Moksha's a baby cow, but they don't care. They were best friends right from the beginning, and now they're like a family, really. So that interspecies friendship, and she loves Kevin and Nan so much, but in fact, Kevin and Moksha have a special bond. I sometimes see them. There's just something about Kevin and Moki. They just get along so good. Nan's more of a people person. It's just one of the great blessings that Nan kind of like chose me. It's like the best. That if I walk in there, Nan tends to seek out some snuggles from me. But Kevin and Moki might be off getting into trouble together at first, and that's just their preferences, their individuality. That's what I love about tours, is introducing people to individuals, not just like a faceless species, like a thing. We were so shocked. When we started the sanctuary 3 years ago, it was just down the road. We were on 6 acres. We filled up fast, and that property it was about 6 acres, but even part of it wasn't pasturable. It was too wet. So it was really like 3 acres of pasture. And we had so much support from the community and so much positive feedback that we, way sooner than we had even hoped, we were able to expand. So we bought this new property 3 months ago. So we did celebrate our 3-year anniversary here, and it's so much bigger. It's almost 18 acres. And not just is it that many acres, but it's all pasturable. It's freaky great for what we wanted to do. It's mostly fenced in. Each of the pastures has electricity and water to it. There was some upgrades needed, especially for like rascally escape artist goats. We had to do some things, but for the most part, like the then 50 or so residents we could just move here. We took a census, we're up to like 90 some now. I just keep growing. We are so grateful we got to take in our first horses. So much room here for us to expand into. We have some winter shelters we need to shore up, and so we're just trying to pause on new rescues right now until we get ready for winter. The shelter piece is huge for us, but the fencing, the ability to just come this summer and be at a brand new big place has been phenomenal, and we couldn't have done it without our community support and our volunteers and people believing in what we're trying to do. I'm trying to remember how long I've been vegan. I think we went vegan 5, but it might have been 6 years ago now. We, like I said, I sat and watched some slaughterhouse footage, and it was kind of like this visceral moment for me where that was the end. I'd been in this weird phase with approaching that like final point where I wasn't purchasing animal flesh or substances, but if it was their birthday, for example, and they made cupcakes, like I would just try not to be rude to the host. I went through this long phase where I was sort of just mediocre in my stance, and it was that footage which I thought if I looked at that footage I would die. I thought I couldn't take it. I feel like a very sensitive type person, and Sarah held my hand and we got through that. And so that was so huge. Sarah had been vegan earlier in her life. I wish she was here, sorry. But Sarah had been vegan when she was younger, and she often says, you know, that she felt like when she got away from it, she kind of got away from her true self. So it really felt like a return, I think, for her too, to who she knew herself to be. And it's funny, it's those values, like I would have said that compassion and kindness were like what I was all about, but you know, I guess vegans can relate to this, that sometimes we think about humans only when we say others. You know, we kind of just mean human animals. So it was 5 or 6 years now that when I think of my family that there's non-humans there as well, and that's been everything. Thank you so much for caring about this video, this interview. Here at Lancaster Farm Sanctuary, we are almost entirely donation supported. So we have plans in the future. There's a tiny house on the new property. We'd like to fix it up and have farm stays. That might help us with expenses. We want to sell shirts and stuff, but and we'd like to start a community garden, a vegan organic garden. But almost all of our expenses to care for the animals come from donors. So any donation is always appreciated. Any amount, not too small. We have the Extra Give coming up, so your dollars would be matched, doubled, or tripled. You could find us at lancasterfarmsanctuary.org. We have a newsletter. It's lancasterfarmsanctuary@gmail, or you can get added through the website. We're on all the social media outlets. We're not very handy with social media, but we're trying to learn. We're getting better. We're making like Reels videos now. So thank you so much for your interest. Thank you for watching Vegan Spotlight.